1977 RAC Rally, a 2,000-mile motoring marathon that takes 240 crack rally crews round the most demanding roads and tracks the country can offer. The first leg from Wembley in London to York for one of only 2 overnight rests in 5 days of competitive motoring. A test of man and machine, and it's anyone's guess which will break first.
Our first car here.
Roger Clark, twice winner of the RAC, tackles stage 1 in the grounds of Blenheim Palace. Sweden's Stig Blomqvist, another former winner, misses an arrow, gets it all wrong and drops precious seconds on the very first stage. Mikkola, latest in the new generation of flying Finns, sweeps through Blenheim in the Chevette to take fastest time and set the pace. Björn Waldegård, Ford's #1 driver, takes a classic line. Waldegård's already won both the Monty and Safari rallies this year. World champion Sandro Minari with the fastest car in the rally, a Lancia Stratos, and finding it tough to put all that power on the track. Hannu Mikkola has problems keeping the Toyota pointing ahead.
Because it's not that dark out here.
Another Finn, Ford's Ari Vatanen, just 25, perhaps the fastest driver in the world, taking no chances so near to the start. Another of those dominating Finns, Simo Lampinen, whose Fiat seems hell-bent on savaging the commentators' loudspeakers.
And he can't get any grip on the grass either now, so reversing. Marshall's rushing to his assistance. Looks as though he's going to need it just to get him back onto the tarmac again. The rear wheel's struggling hard for grip, and off he goes. Very nearly took my speakers, very nearly took photographers as well.
Sutton Park, and Clark's lost a tyre. Mikkola just flinging that Chevette across the track. A stage just made for a Stratos. Something's wrong with Vatanen. It seems the puncture disease is catching, at least for Fords. Vatanen's lost the same tyre as teammate Clark. Both hit a curb submerged in a stream. Vatanen's limped in on the rim, or what's left of it. Co-driver Bryant gets out the spare, and Vatanen proves that rally drivers need to do more than just drive fast.
Hello. Okay, can you come around?
It's at times like these that spectators actually come in useful. No time for a jack.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, split.
On goes the wheel, but Vatanen's lost seconds. He'll have to fight hard to make up. There were 120,000 spectators at Sutton Park, but the lucky ones travelled no further than their own front windows. The Toyota of Leif Asterhag heads off for a night of special stages in North Yorkshire. It was to be an evening where the lead changed hands. Fastest over the early tarmac stages had been Mikkola in his Chevette. But the closing stages of the day saw Hannu Mikkola snatch first place by a mere 4 seconds. Another slim 4-second margin separated Mikkola from Waldegård's Ford. But there were over 1,600 miles still to go, and in the RAC, anything can happen. After the night halt, the crews would head back non-stop through Yorkshire, spend the night in the forests of Wales, then return to York. Mikkola led off the survivors, desperate to make up that 4-second deficit. Waldegård lying third, but poised to hound Mikkola through the forests. Mikkola himself had no illusions. A 4-second lead is nothing. and he only had to turn a wheel wrong to drop out of the top slot. Vatanen scrabbles off the line at Bramham Park in North Yorkshire. Mikkola back on the stage that gave him his lead the night before. Russell Brookes, one of the most promising British drivers, just flying over the stage to make up time he lost with suspension and gearbox problems. But Kelly is one of an army of Fiats contesting this year's RAC. Waldegård demonstrates the Scandinavian approach. One of 76 escorts in the rally, that was Andy Dawson. Timo Mäkinen ploughs up the verges, but that's nothing compared with Riccola's effort. Let's look at how it's done. This is Per-Inge Wolfridsson, foot down along the straight, speeds in 3 figures here. Remember, he's never seen these bends before. See how he copes, or rather doesn't. He's overcooked it on the loose, but never stops moving. That simply sums up the skill of a rally driver. Cold Welsh water, but drivers like Varini don't get time to look. This is a special stage on the seafront at Llandudno, and there's no room here for mistakes. Mikkola broadsides the Toyota. He's desperate to hang on to that lead. Waldegård's been hot on his heels all day. Mikkola takes the whole stretch in one long slide. Through the night and into the forests, Waldegård pulled ahead, first by 20 seconds, and by the end of the night lay a whole minute up on Mikkola. The Toyota team was pulling out all the stops to get their man back in front. They worked flat out to put his Celica in first-rate shape for the coming day, but Mikkola himself was tense. But the forests were to take their toll. While Waldegård steamed on, Mäkinen, Vatanen and Mikkola all had accidents and the field thinned out. Mikkola ploughed 60 feet into the trees, dropped to 53rd and spent all day clawing those seconds back. A vicious kickback in the steering sprained Waldegård's wrist, but he didn't slacken his speed. Mikkola admitted he'd never catch Waldegård unless he dropped by the wayside. After their final halt at York, the running half of the entry list was to head through Yorkshire for the Lake District and Scotland, but first Croft, and watch how the leaders handle the track. Russell Brookes, seeded 23rd and heading for 3rd place. Clark again, plagued by punctures, he's pulled up from 14th to 8th place. Grisdale in the lakes, but the silvery curtain of rain does nothing to cool the pace. Mikkola's now 2 minutes behind Waldegård, but still 7 ahead of the rest of the field. Brookes is having the drive of his life. Servicing at Moffat in Scotland, and for Andy Dawson's escort that means healing the wounds of battle. He's battered its offside quarter, but sprinted into 5th place. Waldegård's mount, on the other hand, still looks almost factory fresh, and Waldegård himself looks remarkably cool for a man who's being so hard pressed. His mechanics have strapped up his hand with electrical tape, and if it made any difference to his driving, Hannu Mikkola certainly didn't notice. Russell Brookes on the penultimate stage, now assured of 3rd place, and teammate Roger Clark now up from 8th to 4th. Less than half the field stagger back towards York. For Waldegård, the world's most versatile rally driver, a well-deserved victory, and one which he'd said he wanted more than any other. For Ford, their 6th RAC win in succession, and for the RAC Rally itself, further proof of its claim to be one of the classic rallies of the world.